And he also points out, I don't get a commission from this. He says that to the client. You say that?
I do not say that I don't have a commission, and maybe we should get a commission.
No, we shouldn't. Just muddy the waters. What you should do, John, is point it out. G'day guys, Adam Cogan here from SSW TV, and today I have John Thirion. How are you, John?
Pretty good, Adam. How are you?
Good. We are going to talk about this rule that we have here, which is called Do you understand why ROI should affect decision making?
Yeah.
Essentially a little baby rule just about developers being clear on the amount of money, costs, including factoring in their own rate.
Yep.
So a common thing that you talk about to young developers.
Pretty cool.
We have a nice video here that explains that, and we got this great feedback from a bunch of the developers. And we just asked them to watch the video and give us their thoughts on this and what they think. And we got 49 responses, and in general, most of them liked the rule, and they had some feedback, all right? So let's go through that feedback. I might just look at their opinion on the rule. 17 said that they already did this technique of being clear about optimizations, and a little bit more said that they'll start using that now they've read it. Some were on the fence, might start using them, not convinced, and some other people didn't agree. And we'll talk about that. So these little clouds are kind of cute, aren't they?
Yeah.
So they look at all the responses and they tell you what keywords were in there. So if you saw a word that you didn't expect, that might tell you something. So you might want to look into it. So anyway, let's jump into the feedback. We'll start with Michael Smedley's comment. This topic is not the home ground of many shy developers. Is that true?
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, certainly if you're more junior, that's not something you're very comfortable talking about, especially if you're saying, hey, you could save money. That may sound a bit weird to downsell,
yes.
But,
So what else have we got here? We've got you. Okay, I like this comment, so I called it out. This is an extremely important rule. I think as part of the same idea, it's worth thinking about the 80-20 rule as well. Sometimes you can help clients rule out bells and whistles on a piece of a feature to achieve 80% of the requirement for a fraction of the cost. I would categorize that as optimizing ROI as well. You want the best value for money. And I think you're essentially saying, make sure your clients take the low-hanging fruit.
Yes, basically, yeah. Just make sure that you're not wasting any money on things you don't actually need, and that's part of the ROI, really, improving your ROI because you lowering your initial investment for a similar return.
Yeah, it's really good. So let's look at the feedback that some of them had on the actual rule. I liked Chris's comment here, only because I think that it'll be interesting to see what you say about it. I think ROI should not be placed in an upselling email like in the example, but should be in a spec review document instead. Putting ROI in a simple upselling email means that the person has to do a mini spec review, like a whole lot of investment, to get the numbers, quantify the cost, in addition to the time they need to do to fix the problem in the first place. The question is, who should be billed for this time? The client wouldn't be happy to get billed for the unauthorized spec review. Now, he's referring to this document and he's saying, look, I did the task. I don't want to go ahead, start working out all this stuff. And when I spoke to him, he said, I'm really uncomfortable about how this is all upselling. Like, I'm not comfortable doing this upselling. So, what's your response to this, John?
Well, I certainly agree. To a degree, if you are not aware of the price of those, extra licenses or things like that, you cannot really give that answer or those options without doing some research, which might not be approved by the client. But you can certainly think about it for 2 seconds and be like, hey, Mr. Bob, there might be a way to improve that. Would you allow me to work maybe 2 hours or maybe even 1 hour to investigate potential alternatives and give you a documented answer? But really, most more senior people, more advanced developers would have a rough idea anyway. You know the cost of software, you know how it is, you know how much you cost for a week, so you can very quickly know if you're going to spend 200% or 500% billing your time versus buying a piece of software. So,
yeah, I love how you're saying time box it. Just do a little bit if you're not sure the client wants it. That's a really good idea. The other thing is, that's not really upselling. If you think about it, this is, if I do nothing, I'm going to be charging you $28,000 a year. If I go and do this essentially downselling, I'm now going to only be doing 16 hours, like $3,000 a year. Like, it's a big difference.
It is downselling.
But yeah, it is downselling. Yes, but what do you get for it?
Well, I mean, that's indirect sales, really, because you bring confidence to the client. And that's why they keep calling us, really, because we're bringing the best solutions for them. So,
nice upselling. Very good. Okay. So JK had this really nice comment here. He said, the best option still might not be the cheapest, and ROI doesn't come in dollars, but in customer satisfaction, security, or other metrics that can't be translated into dollars. ROI is not just dollars.
100% agreed. There's many other factors, just like he says about security or satisfaction, that you have to factor in before making the right decision. But it doesn't hurt to outline that, on the pure dollar sign, this is more expensive than this, and then they make the choice.
And Matt says something similar. There are other hidden contextual costs too. Like he's looking at this example here. What if the signatures didn't come out cheapest? Then it still might be the best option because it might have knock-on effects to other departments and things like that. So yeah, the same type of thing. Anthony says, I got a big problem here. My problem is, he says, I've done the task. It took me an hour, but you could do it faster doing this. He goes, what the hell? Why didn't he ask before he actually did that task?
Typical Anthony, isn't it?
That's right. It's only 1 hour. All right.
That makes sense. I mean, I agree with that. If you notice it beforehand, definitely just outlining to the clients. But it may happen that as you're doing it, you realize that there's a better way.
But as a product owner, I actually kind of like this. I ask for something,
Get it done.
get it done, and then tell me there's a better way. Don't put a roadblock in front of it.
As usual, it depends, right? It depends on the criticality
course.
and the urgency of the situation.
So next one from Callum. Callum says, let's talk about in the example of maximizing. ROI comes up every time that we're doing a SharePoint migration. You have these ShareGate licenses. They're not cheap, about $5,000, but it reduces our time spent on migrating by about 90%. So if the migration is going to take more than a few days, then this is the right thing. And he also points out, I don't get a commission from this. He says that to the client. Do you say that?
I do not say that I don't have a commission, and maybe we should get a commission.
No, we shouldn't. Just muddy the waters. What you should do, John, is point it out. Yeah, it's a good idea. Now, Jason is an awesome developer who can build anything he wants, and he still says, I want to use component libraries from the beginning. When I'm building an app, I want everything such as data grids, calendars, tree views, report viewers, and I'm not going to build them myself.
Certainly part of the ROI, but it's much broader than that. It's really best practices. Try to use the things that already exist. Don't reinvent the wheel.
And it has the ongoing cost of maintaining those things, where this one you're outsourcing, focus on the business. Piers gives an example here of how we use TimePro internally, and there's other ones out there such as Harvest and Clockify, etc., and more. And he says, just look at this. You've got even if it was $1,000 a month, if we have a single developer 1 day a month, that's more than that. So there's no good reason to keep TimePro.
I mean, that's valid once more if you look only at the dollar figure. But I'm sure as a product owner, you will disagree with that because there's many features in TimePro that you don't want to, you don't really find on other products, and that you can't live without. So that's good to have this comparison and have the options certainly. But then you make an educated decision, and in that occasion, we keep TimePro.
And when you get that feedback, it's a good idea. Put that in the wiki. Find out what the product owner wants. Like in this case, must have prepaid invoices, must have automatic comments on timesheets, must have automated comments coming through from the DevOps systems, etc. And then you can know what you're looking for. I like this one from Yuli. He says, I make these decisions all the time, especially on which videos I put in effort. So when we are making a video from the SSW TV team, it will either be a gold, silver, bronze video. Sometimes we do a gold video on a video that is only going to get a few hundred views, which is kind of remarkable. A gold video will take a month to do.
Once again, indirect sales. Yes. We are not living off the revenues of the SSW TV YouTube channel, obviously. But the sales they generate through indirect sales is enormous.
Yeah.
So it is important. And again, important to consider when considering ROI.
The next one I'll call out is Mehmet's, where he says, when talking about ROI, you need to factor in the cost and the return. The rule in the video is only talking about costs. So if you're making a bunch of formatting changes to the back end, well, is that a good investment? But if you're increasing the throughput of the shopping cart, is that a better investment? Thoughts?
I sort of agree with him. That sort of links to the 80-20 rule I was mentioning a bit before. Certainly, you can cut some costs or improve the ROI by cutting some costs of unnecessary features. But if you push that logic too far, then you don't even need a nice UI for customers, because what matters is really what they pay with their credit card. So you have to be measured with what you do.
Yes.
And it's another way of saying that money or dollar figure is not necessarily the only factor you have to consider.
That's right. Yeah. Otherwise, you'd have pretty horrible UI. I'm just going to finish with Callum's comment. I can't imagine investing money without considering ROI. I think you need to keep in mind the client is not just paying us to do tasks, but also to guide them on a technological journey. So it's our job to inform them of ROI considerations as well as just doing stuff. And I would add to that, and it's really important to educate product owners so they make a better decision.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's very poetic. I didn't expect less from Callum.
That's right. So thanks, John. That was awesome. It was really good going through this feedback, and thank you to everyone that gave all those comments. There's a bloody lot of comments, and it's really, really nice to read, and hopefully this was obvious. So this is Adam Cogan signing off for SSW TV.